Madam Mayor, can I take a point of privilege and just mention before Mr. Scott Davis, our Public Works Director, slides out the door, since I see he's still there, I would like to commend Public Works on a phenomenal job the last several days and many, many hours. And I just heard from residents over and over again how wonderful the service has been and how responsive and how quick, and also how thorough and how 11th hour the service was. And we really appreciate that planning. I know for my part, our recycling was picked up, all those limbs were gone. We felt so ready for the storm. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the kind words.
Following up to Vice Mayor, I just want to say thank you for getting all the coconuts.
Yes, sir. We worked long hours getting coconuts throughout the village. Thank you.
Okay, we will now call to order the regular Village Council meeting of September 3rd, 2019. Madam Clerk, let's call the roll, please.
Village Attorney Serafan.
Still present.
Village Manager Benton.
Here.
Councilman Alfredo.
Here.
Councilman Meltz.
Here.
Vice Mayor Birch. Mayor Wagner, you have quorum.
Thank you. We'll start with our presentations this evening. We have 2 House of the Month certificates to give out. We have one from the month of August, and that will be located at 114 Northeast 106th Street, the Irwin family. Is the Irwin family here? Okay, well, I'll just read this into the record. In choosing their house, the Irwin family knew the importance of a well-designed driveway with simple yet colorful landscape. Ms. Irwin was very appreciative of the architect's design and color scheme. The tightly manicured landscape and ground cover accents the driveway decoratively. Thank you for keeping the village beautiful to the Irwin family, and as you all can see, that home is there, and it's beautiful. And can we make sure that they receive their certificate? Thank you. And our September House of the Month is for the Woodling and Obenauer family. Do we have anybody present? Would you mind stepping up? No worries. Oh, wow, yeah. One of the distinguishing features of the property is the newly installed driveway. The design gives the impression that it was purposely built to display the natural canopy provided by the tree. The impeccably maintained property and structure also add to the appeal of the property. Miami Shores Village appreciates Mr. Woodling's and Mrs. Obenauer's contribution to keeping the village beautiful. Thank you. Your house is beautiful. I'm going to present you with your certificate.
That's a nice way they did that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, we'll move on to public comments at this time. Since Historic Preservation Annual Report will not be given today. If you are here to give public comment, please state your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, Patrice Gillespie Smith, 358 Northeast 101st Street. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the council, I'm here today to talk about item 10A. From day one, Plaza 98 has truly been a partnership between the council, the village, and the residents, and I'm thrilled to see that it's taking this next step. From day one, Scott Davis was actually the first one to apply for funds for the Quick Build Challenge to get that Plaza 98 mural on the street where residents from all over the village came out to paint it. And from day one, Vice Mayor Birch was there painting the benches, helping fabricate the planters, and Public Works throughout every single Saturday that we had put up those lights and made sure that residents had light for each of those celebrations. And of course, the downtown businesses were part of this. And that is really what the catalyst was for starting Plaza 98, was ensuring that there was a healthy Northeast 2nd Avenue. And today we stand before you 2 years later, and we see quite a few restaurants on the verge of opening. So it's very exciting, but I'm thrilled to see that the village is considering taking on this next step and really owning Plaza 98. I think removing the chamber from the administrative piece will help this work much more efficiently. But I assure you that there's a group of committed residents who will be there every Saturday at Plaza 98, and behind the scenes, working with Angie, working with your administration to make sure this is a continued success for the families of Miami Shores. And lastly, I just wanted to say Barry University has expressed an interest in providing an intern who I'd love to see help with the promotions of and quite honestly, the administrative work of working with all the businesses along Northeast 2nd Avenue to ensure the continued success of Plaza 98. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for public comment at this time?
Victor Bruce, 370 Northeast 101st Street. I'm bringing up a concern that I had brought up before this new council. I'm an architect here, a local architect, and most of my projects are in Miami Shores. I live obviously here as well, so it's best of both worlds. But we're running into a problem with the county when it comes to the upgrades to the existing water service in the alleys. So for example, I could be working with a client, we're adding a bathroom, we don't know anything until we get to the point of the county, and then they tell us, we don't have enough water pressure, we don't have the size of line that you need. So that's what's gonna happen is there's a lot of people that are not gonna be able to improve their homes. There's a lot of people that won't be able to have bathrooms because there's not enough infrastructure. And I know it's a county thing, but it's also something that's gonna hit and it's gonna impact residents. So I'm somewhat speaking in their behalf because I get involved with them and I know this firsthand. The county doesn't budge. The county just wants people to make the improvements themselves, sometimes extend bigger lines to main lines that could be coming off maybe a couple houses away, but it could be a whole block away. Some people can do it, other people can't. We're talking about thousands of dollars. But it's a reality that many residents are having to go through, and I'm the face that they have to look at when I tell them, listen, there's nothing we can do. Just so you guys are aware. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Good evening, Council. I'm Giselle Kovac, 290 Northeast 2nd Avenue. Just in response to 10B, the discussion and possible action regarding 2nd Avenue Business District lighting, I encourage you all to consider this both for the safety issue. I walk home from the theater all the time. It can be quite dark there, but also for the ambiance issue. I would love to see the lighting contribute to a festive and lively feeling on Northeast 2nd Avenue. And thank you so much for considering it.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Item 6, consent agenda. Items are routine, self-explanatory matters and are not expected to require discussion or review. Items will be enacted by one motion. If discussion is desired by any member of the council, that item must be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. If the public wishes to speak on a matter on the consent agenda, they must inform the village clerk prior to the start of the meeting. They will be recognized to speak prior to the approval of the consent agenda. Item 6A, approval of the July 9th, 2019 budget workshop meeting minutes. Approval of the July 16th, 2019 village council meeting minutes. And item 6A, approval of the RFQ 2019-05-01 evaluation committee's results and selection of Kimley Horn for professional engineering services for the Shores Estates subdivision sewer system facility plan and authorization to negotiate with the top-ranked firm. Madam Mayor, I have not received any requests from the public to pull any of the items.
Madam Mayor,
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Lafredo.
I'll defer to the Vice Mayor.
Madam Vice Mayor.
Madam Mayor, just so that, to make a comment, I'd like to pull 6C.
Very well.
Amen. That's what I was hoping.
Okay.
I'll move approval of 6A and 6B.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item 6, hold on, 6C, let's, discussion of item 6C. Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So I just wanted to say that I have every confidence in staff's going through the bids that we've received, and I'm really excited that we're at the bid stage for this project, which we've actually been talking about since 2015. And it's not mentioned in here, but we do have a grant for some of the funding for this. And so that's another really wonderful way for us to launch into what I feel is what the vulnerability has informed us is, study has informed us is this is the top item that we need to address. It launches us into what I feel should be a sustainability plan, program, whatever you'd like to say, and I'm really excited to get it going. And as far as the materials that came with your packet, I did want to comment that as I've sat up here, other council members have brought a lot of material to the fore that has helped to educate me that I wouldn't otherwise have had. Councilman Meltz on plastics, Councilman Brady on the Y-Green program, things like that. And it's really been helpful to me. So I wanted to be sure that these materials were available to you. I found some of them excellent. If you have time to read nothing else, then read the experiences that other cities have had in a septic to sewer transition. And so I just wanted to say that it's more about what I wanted to say than about the item. So thank you.
Very good, thank you. Councilman Lafredo.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I think this is important that this word get out. I know it's maybe gilding the lily, but I'd ask the village manager to do a brief presentation if he could, just for the benefit of myself and the public.
Yes, sir. As Vice Mayor Birch indicated, the village did a vulnerability study, and let's see, I've included the one page there, page 15, Mr. Lafredo, in my packet that I included in the council's package this meeting. You can see that the sewer facility plan is under, in terms of urgency, is under short term. And what that will do is the area of Shores Estates, which is the area there north of the canal, west behind the old Kmart, which is one of our lowest lying areas in our community that has trouble with septic tanks failing now in some areas that they're having to retrofit and do things with. What this will do, it's the first step in sewering that area. So the engineering firm will go in there. They will first have to decide which utility. I believe it's North Miami is the utility that that services the water back there, and I believe that they will take care of the sewage as well. However, the county sometimes has a difference of opinion, so whoever we hire will work that out for us. They will come back with a report. They will put a plan together as to where the lines will be, where the manholes will be, where the sewer lift station will be, which will be of big concern to the residents over there. So they would have to site where the sewer line, where the lift station would be, and ultimately the force main where it will tie into the county system. So that's sort of the first step in developing a shovel-ready project. One of the reasons why each year we go before the legislature and we ask for money, one of the reasons why we're told that we don't get as much money as some other cities is we don't have shovel-ready projects that are ready. Here's the funding, okay, go, we can build them. This is a step in that direction in that subdivision back there to get us closer to being shovel-ready. And as the Vice Mayor said, we have also learned that we're getting a $40,000 grant to pay for this. The cost estimate from the vulnerability study was $40,000. However, there's some items that, while accepting the grant money, have to be included that may bump the total price up a few more dollars. We're going to do our best to negotiate that into the contract with the #1 ranked firm here, and we would bring that contract. We have to bring that contract back to you for approval as soon as we're done with the negotiations.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Lafredo.
Couple questions. So this $40,000 that we're going to allocate, that will cover creating a plan so that we'll get an idea of what this Kmart area or Shores Estates area will cost.
That is correct.
Will that include connecting to the county main lines on US 1, or that is an additional cost? It won't be in part of the plan.
It'll be part of the plan. That'll all the cost will be included to turnkey, take that subdivision and hook it up to a sewer system.
And that will be, did they have a preference whether they're gonna do it in the alleys or the streets, because of the existing water service and septic tank hookups, or how is that all gonna work out?
And that's one of the things that is included in the study, where in fact we put that in the RFQ that we put out, that we published, is that's one of the things that they'll have to study, whether there's room for them to put it in the alleys versus putting it out front. If you put it, most people have their connections in the rear and the back of the properties, so it would be cheaper to connect if it was in the back in the alleys. But I don't know, sometimes, particularly in sewer, I don't know if there's enough room back there with the existing utilities that may be buried back there in order to do that.
Right,
So
and also
all that
may-
will be part of the study.
It also may be, because you could get two at one time, it may be less expensive and less disruptive to the neighborhood to do it in the alleys.
That's correct.
Okay, sorry for interrupting. That's all I have.
I have a couple questions myself, Mr. Manager, and just for my own edification, and I know you cannot pin this down, but when we're doing studies like this with something this important, and the urgency, and this is indicated here, is short term, how long can you anticipate, and I won't hold you to this, when we do these types of studies, how long do they potentially take? What are we looking at month-wise? And again, I won't hold you to it. 'Cause
We're
it's-
looking at 6 to 7 months to complete.
Okay.
And a lot of that has to do with the outside agencies. As Mr. Bruce indicated, dealing with Miami-Dade Water and Sewer sometimes, it can take months to get an answer back. So, that's just the way it is in dealing with them. But that is, I think, a realistic time frame, 6 to 7 months to complete.
Okay. And I've also just sort of called around and done my own research, and you were spot on when you said a lot of times because we're not shovel-ready, we're not able to get the money that we need to do such projects. So I do find this to be very important, and that's why I was asking about the time frame, because the sooner the better. Thank you. Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve item 6C? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Item 7A, appointment to the Library Board of Trustees. There is one vacancy, and as indicated in the staff report, this is a continuation of the June 18th council meeting where the ballots rendered a tie vote between Mr. John Camp and David Gearhart. Both of the applicants are present and prepared to answer any questions should the village council have any questions. Your ballots are located in the upper right-hand corner.
Thank you. For the benefit of some folks that weren't here when this came up the first time, I'd like to have Mr. Camp and Mr. Gerhart approach the podium. We'll start with Mr. Camp, just to say a few words about your application.
Thank you. John Camp, 1050 Northeast 96th Street. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all again a few months down the road. As I mentioned last time, I've been intimately involved with the library for the last let me just back up a little bit and say I grew up in the Shores, but we moved away. My wife and I moved back here in 2003, and since then we've been involved in the library in a number of regards. There are 4 things I'd like to present to you as reasons why I think I would be a good member of the Board of Trustees. First, I've served on 3 nonprofit boards. I served on the board of the Andy Warhol Museum, which is the largest single artist museum in the United States. I served on the board of Miami Country Day School, including chairing the advancement committee during a significant rebranding campaign that the school went through. And I currently serve on the Board of Trustees of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. And in my board capacity there, I serve on the board selection committee and the programming committee, which sets the agenda for all programming that the Lawyers Committee undertakes. It's a national civil rights organization with a huge footprint. And also, as part of that, I run the Lawyers Committee's Election Protection Program for Miami-Dade County and advise on election protection throughout the state of Florida at every election. I mentioned that I have been interested and involved with the library. I mentioned the last time I was here a program that I conceived of, we brought before the library board and then brought before the village council, which was to take decommissioned parking meters adjacent to the library, convert them to money-making machines for the library, for want of a better term. Anyone going to the library can throw a dime, nickel, even a nickel these days, or a quarter in the parking meters, and they have, since that was implemented, they've generated approximately $1,400 in revenues for the library, with virtually no overhead or maintenance costs to the library. It's approximately $300 a year, about $275 or $280 a year, and I think that could easily be bumped up with a little promotion. At the time, I proposed also that we take some decommissioned parking meters from around the village and put them in places where there's high traffic, outside of Publix, by the Starbucks, at the recreation department, and paint them to signify that they're to raise money for the library. So anyone walking out of Publix or Starbucks could throw some money in there, and that would also go into the revenues of the library. In addition to that, I brought before the board of the library a proposal, and if may I just hand these up? Sure. Okay. I only have 2 copies, so you all are going to have to share. This was a proposal that, at the urging and direction of the library director, I brought to the board a couple of years ago. It was ultimately not passed, but this is a proposal for a bike bookmobile, which has been implemented, as you can see from that PowerPoint presentation, in libraries across the country, large and small. And the idea is to get a bike that can, like a cargo bike that can carry books and have books set up at places like the Tot Lot or the Recreation Department on events that we have, like Plaza 98, where people could check out books. We could sell used books. And so it would be a way to promote the library and also another revenue generator. It was ultimately voted down by the board, but the staff and director of the library did express their interest in it, and I would hope that at some point they would consider it again. In addition, I have been involved in discussions over the years with the director of the library over, for example, in the children's wing of the library, a proposal which is called genreification, which to adherence to the Dewey Decimal System is anathema, but the idea is to organize books by genre as opposed to the traditional Dewey Decimal System. The idea being that if you have a kid who's interested in dinosaurs and she finds a book on dinosaurs, there would be books adjacent to that on the same theme. Another proposal that I brought was that in the children's library, they put together backpacks that are themed for the summer. So if you have a kid who's interested in Legos, there would be a Lego book and Lego packs, and they could check out the backpack, which would have a whole theme or lesson unit in it. And those are just a few of the ideas that I've brought to the library over the years, and I think that shows that I've had a sustained interest in all things at the library. Before I was a lawyer, I was a teacher for 6 years, and in my capacity as a teacher, I developed middle and upper school curricula in English, language arts, and literature. I developed summer reading programs and selected all the books, so I have, particularly with respect to middle grades, a background in literature, poetry, and finally, as I mentioned, I'm a lawyer by training and trade, and I know there are a number of lawyers on the council, and so you all know that we're trained in issue spotting and problem solving, advocating and mediating, and I think those are all skills that anyone serving on a nonprofit board should have. Substantively, my practice has included and includes defense of personal injury, including premises liability lawsuits, which obviously would be something of a concern in a freestanding building, and also insurance coverage, large-scale commercial insurance coverage litigation. So I think having someone on the board with my background and experience who could interface with the village council is also a plus. I know you have in the packet you received, you should have gotten copies of my resume, but I do have copies if anyone would like to have a copy. I'll hand them and you can just pass them down. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Any questions from the council? Thank you, Mr. Camp.
Thank you.
Mr. Gerhardt?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, distinguished members of the council, Attorney Safran, and Mr. Benton. My name's David Gearhart. I've been a resident of Miami Shores since 1969. I've lived here continuously except for going away to college, and even then I lived here during the summer. So I love the community. Actually, I knew John. I grew up with John. He's a little bit older than me. Maybe not wise, but a little bit older. But, you know, and I love the library. I've always gone to the library, even as a kid. And it is really, I think the library is a gem in our community. It's one of the things I think that makes Miami Shores a special place to live. And I would love to serve on the board. I think Michelle does a great job at the library, and I would be happy to help her. And I think really to kind of keep things going, because in my humble opinion, the library doesn't need a lot of changes. It's already a fantastic gem, and it's a great resource for our community. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Gerhart. This time we'll take a vote. Thank you.
It's a tie vote.
Thought we'd give it a shot. No one knew Sean was going to be sick.
Madam Mayor, I suggest we roll it to the next meeting.
That was going to be my suggestion. Unfortunately, gentlemen.
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Lafredo?
since this is clearly, we have two of the most distinguished residents of our community applying for this board. When we roll to the next one, can we make it as a consolation prize that the less successful one will be automatically appointed to the Planning and Zoning Board? Since that's the second.
Why would you want to? That sounds more like a punishment.
Anyway, I thank them both for applying.
Yeah, thank you both for coming out. We'll roll over to the next one. Thank you so much for your interest and commitment.
You can arm wrestle outside.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Item 8A, approval of the open-air cafe application, Amaranth and Bistro, for the property located at 9801 Northeast 2nd Avenue, subject to all code requirements and subject to certain terms and conditions. Staff on this item is the Planning and Zoning Director. Madam Mayor, this is a public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And with that, I will open up the floor for public hearing on item 8A. If anyone has a comment on 8A, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everybody. My name is George Yannikakis. I have no comment, but I represent Amaranthine if you have any questions.
Can you state your address for the record,
Oh, sorry.
please?
9801 Northeast 2nd Avenue.
Thank you. Does anyone from the council have any questions? George, who you're representing?
Amaranthine,
Okay.
the restaurant.
Yes, Your Honor, Madam Mayor, I just asked that he just make a brief presentation of what they're doing and what they intend to do, just for the benefit of the.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, we're like a short time away from opening up a Mediterranean restaurant. It will be a combination of different plates from France, Italy, Greece, and Northern Africa. It will be open day, lunch and dinner. Basically, we're going to have cooked breakfast, lunch, dinner. And on the weekends, we'll have brunch.
So they're going to be outdoor seating?
There is.
And that's been approved by Planning and Zoning?
Yes.
Do you want to hear from Travis?
We'd love to hear from Travis.
Well, if you after public comment, I mean, I have staff report to give. So
Yes.
if we
Okay.
get it,
Yes,
I'm sorry.
it's in our packet. Thank you, Travis.
Speaking during public comment.
Anything else, George?
No, unless if you want to ask me.
Does anyone else have any questions of George while he's here? Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name's Christian Overt. I live 29 Northeast 102nd Street. I just wanted to say I'm very excited what's happening downtown and seeing 2 restaurants open, seeing some outdoor seating coming to life. So I congratulate the business owners. I know you're eager to start and open, and commend our new mayor and council for making sure we are staying diligent on our downtown. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Kim Flower, 301 Northeast 98th Street. I wholly hope you approve these outdoor cafe applications for both Sins and Amaranthine. Unfortunately, there was no hyperlink, so there was no material available for any of us to look at what was being applied for. So I'm kind of talking blind, but as you all know, I own Flight Wine Lounge, and we need these guys to show a presence in downtown so that we can follow and so that more people will start to come to our downtown. It has been an absolute ghost town this summer, so the more we can get people on the street and more visibility on the street, it would be a big help for all of the businesses, not just the restaurants, but Pebble and Vine, Home Crush that's getting ready to open, some of the other things that are on the street. It's been really lonely walking out at 11 o'clock at night and nobody else is out there. So I hope that you will see the right thing to do would be to approve this and hopefully get our downtown buzzing. Thank you.
Here's a copy of each application.
Appreciate that.
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Meltz?
can I suggest that we have the staff report first and then open to public comment?
Okay. Maybe please have our staff report, Travis. Thank you.
Certainly. Travis Kendall, Planning and Zoning. So this is the first of 2 applications that you'll have in front of you this evening for open air cafe table permit applications. And in essence, the process that this went through was both of the applicants that are here went in front of the Planning and Zoning Board for approval of a conceptual design. In doing that, the Planning and Zoning Board authorized for a slight reduction of the existing planters and the sort of a redo of the planters, just so you know, to allow for some additional seating in front of both of these locations. A little bit of background on cafe tables and what's permitted. So these are for location-specific applications for each of these restaurants, for the tables on the sidewalk in front of the restaurants only. This does not permit any sort of tables or chairs outside, as you've seen in the applications, behind the buildings, because that's currently prohibited by code. Just wanted to be very clear about that. In addition, the requirement that's maintained in both of the application as required is that the tables are a minimum of 3 feet setback from the street itself, which would allow for a pedestrian or someone to get around it without actually having to step into the street. It's very important, as well as a 5-foot minimum walkway down the aisle for pedestrian traffic. So those, in both of the applications that you're going to hear this evening, those minimums are maintained. It's very important as well. So this is the first application. It requires your approval. As part of the approval, the restaurants will pay an annual fee of $250. That's the first thing. The second thing is they're also required to maintain liability insurance as part of the required agreement. It's in the discussion as part of the package and the staff recommendation and approval. And this will be something that isn't brought back before you. However, it is location specific. And for example, I think that's important to bring up for the general public to understand. If this or any restaurant which receives this approval closes, the outdoor table cafe permit closes with it. So if in the future another restaurant goes into that location, they would have to come back before you for another application specifically. In other words, even if they had the same seating that was previously established, they would have to come back in front of you in order to get permission for the new location to have outdoor seating. This is not something that's vesting or giving up our rights to the right-of-way. It's simply, we're allowing them to use it through your approval. Okay? So having said that, the first application is Amaranth. The application went to the Planning and Zoning Board. They made a recommendation of approval. There are 32 seats in their design. It sort of wraps around the building. I don't know if you all had the opportunity to go there. The design is here in front of you. There's some seating sort of in front of it on the south side, and then, excuse me, the remainder of the seating is on the what would be the west side or the front of the location. Staff has been involved in this and is supportive of the application. And if there's any very specific questions other than the number of tables or chairs of the design, I'm sure that the owner would be willing to answer any questions about it. But staff is supporting the application.
Attorney Serafin?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to add 2 quick points. Number one, also as part of this process, the village gets an indemnification against any liability, which is the big point. And number 2, conceptually, this is a conditional use permit. And under our ordinance, council has the ability to attach any reasonable conditions to this approval that you may deem warranted. Now, it's an extensive ordinance that was approved by prior council, and we did try to anticipate most of the issues. I don't think either P&Z or staff has identified any specific concerns that would require additional conditions, but I wanted you to know that you do have that power under the ordinance.
Councilman Lafredo.
I'll defer to my colleagues if they have any.
Oh, I did want to say something about the process and what got us here and what got us to the point where council needs to approve an open-air cafe. And I'd like people to understand the angst and that was gone through, and I think it was around the year 2000 that this came about. It went back and forth like a football between planning and zoning and the council. The council insisted at the time that an open-air cafe concept come before the council because it was so untried. And there was so much concern that pedestrians were going to be face planting on the sidewalk. And so I just want to just really quickly fast forward the 19 years from when that happened and say it's hard for me to contain myself sitting up here. I am so excited to have these open air cafes. And I just can't wait to say yes and yes. And I would really, if anyone is watching this meeting, would you please beat a path to our downtown? Because we need you. We need all of our residents to embrace this concept, to embrace open-air cafes, and I'm really excited. And I thank everyone for the background work that you have done to make this possible for our residents and beyond. And so thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Lafredo, did you have any comments?
Just really briefly, I'm very much in favor of this. I echo what Ms. Flower said for the benefit of the people that have invested their hard-earned money in Second Avenue. And I hope this is a luxury question, but in due diligence, I need to ask it. This may become a runaway success. There's a big pent-up demand for this, for more than just the 2 restaurants among younger residents. So my question is, are you satisfied that you've covered all bases in terms of being able to manage traffic flow and parking and valet parking and all that?
Well, the answer is due to the fact that it's currently untested. There's the valet creation, but again, by ordinance, the parking specific issue has been precluded from this discussion. So while I believe that there's sufficient parking that's there, until it becomes an issue, it's not an issue.
So we can approve it and we can come back if we need to help them more is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, this has specifically to do with the sidewalk. I know that you're asking a bigger picture question, and this is a very specific request. So okay. It's part of the bigger picture.
Okay.
Because we already have a parking issue in this part of the village, in that there's not enough, the ordinance was crafted so that these additional seats do not count as part of the required parking that they need.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Thank you. I speak Travis.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. I was trying to calculate that in my mind. Any other comments from the council? I'd like to say thank you, first of all. I know you worked hard on this, but I'm excited for both of these restaurants. We've heard this time and time again over the last 15 years that I've lived here. And I know that the residents will be excited. So I do echo Vice Mayor Birch's sentiment to the public. Please come out and support. I do have a question about hours of operation. That you'll be operating from Monday through Okay, thank you. Yeah, you should go to the go up to the podium.
So the people at home can hear it.
And your hours of operation, George, will be again what?
The hours of operation will be Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and Saturdays will be from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Any other comments from staff?
No, this is, staff doesn't have any more comments for the one application.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve item 8A?
Madam Mayor, maybe open public comment again? That was my recommendation after staff, just to see if.
Is there anyone else who, thank you, is there anyone else who would like to make public comment just on item 8A?
Hi, Council. Giselle Kovac, 290 Northeast 98th Street. I want to commend these gentlemen. I have been watching from the theater the development of these restaurants for these many, many months, and I've got to know them both. And I feel that we are absolutely honored to have such incredible, detail-oriented, and persistent restaurateurs amongst us. I think this is definitely going to change the nature of Northeast 2nd Avenue. And we can actually enjoy our village beautiful from the corner while having a lovely brunch, lunch, dinner, fill in the blank. And also, as I've seen with Flight Wine, this is an incredible way to create community. I see it in Flight all the time, the relationships that are made, and I anticipate that this is what's going to happen with these restaurants as well. I would like to thank Travis for his wise words on parking, like when there's a problem, let's deal with it then, as well as Mr. Serafin's optimism that there are people watching this at home and will hear. And on that note, I want to say that the theater is going to partner with these restaurants in doing things like date night, where you can bring your kids to the theater to watch a movie, you can go and have dinner, and you don't have to find a babysitter. There's all kinds of wonderful things in the works. And it seems like there's a thumbs up from the council unofficially, but I implore you to be supportive. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other public comment as it relates to item 8A?
Yes. Victor Bruce, 370 Northeast 101st Street. From an architect's point of view, I've already peeked into their space and I've noticed the furniture, very fine furniture, expensive, so it's going to be a good restaurant. I have a client on the same street. We are gun shy with what should be the first new building on 2nd Avenue in many years, but they're a little gun shy. For them to open and for it to be visible, it's going to be much easier for them to lease their space. So right now, this is just going to trigger other things to happen. And I know one specifically, which is the one I designed. It's based on the design guidelines that you all looked at, but they're gun shy. That's going to help. And we have it halfway through permitting. So once we have it through, construction starts. And that's even more things happening. So having that kind of activity outside on the street will help greatly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Do I have a motion for support of item 8A?
Yes, I'd
And a
like to move
second.
approval
All
of
right.
8A.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes.
Item 8B, approval of open-air cafe application Sin's Gastro Bar for the property located at 9835 Northeast 2nd Avenue, subject to all code requirements and subject to certain terms and conditions. Staff on this item is the Planning and Zoning Director, and this is also a public hearing.
This time we'll start with the staff report. Go ahead, Travis, thank you.
Travis Kendall, Planning and Zoning. Yes, very, very similar. I'm not going to go through the background again. You all are familiar with this. This is a open-air cafe permit application. The one difference with this location is the conceptual design, which was approved by the Planning and Zoning Board, had 16 to 18 seats outside. The new design has approximately 30. So the request in front of you is for 30 seats. I have gone by the location. Again, they maintain the minimums as required with the 3-foot and the 5-foot. So the additional seats shouldn't be an issue as far as design. Conceptually, the Planning and Zoning Board did approve it on May 3rd at the hearing. So I believe that it's consistent with the intent of the application that was previously before the board to allow for the outdoor seating. So staff is making a recommendation of support for this application as well, and it would be consistent with the other locations. Again, the application itself is specifically for the space in front of that location. So just to put that on the record again. So staff's making a recommendation of approval.
Is there a picture?
There is one in the packet. I don't, if we have one.
Oh, I know it. I was just wondering. I walk by it every day when I go to the post office. I just wanted to see it laid out. While she's doing that, the question I have, and I just, not to be a discouraging word, but I think this is going to be very successful. And I think now the captain station is inside the restaurant. Is there going to be a problem if they move it outside the restaurant? If they have to control the crowds?
When you're referring to where the hostess is?
Yes.
On the inside? Well, again, that's a design feature that's going to be on the restaurant, but I believe that they would be able to accommodate any patrons within the specific location with the design that they currently have, because the station is, I believe, inside the door to the left, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, it's inside.
So, you know, if I don't believe that they're going to have, again, we can ask the applicant, but I don't believe that they're going to have people outside. I think that they would come in and then cycle to the left, where there's that open space in front of the bar, potentially the counter space that's there. So I don't believe so.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Thank you. Thank you, Travis. Can we have the applicant come up and speak?
Carlos Lopez on 9835 Northeast 2nd Avenue. So in regards to the open air cafe, first I would like to thank Travis for the support and helping us bring this to your attention. As he mentioned, we are maintaining the required space with the 3 feet and the 5 feet for the sidewalk. As far as Mr. Lofredo is concerned, in regards to the hostess, that would not be an issue at all because we do have all glass front, so we'll be able to be on top of our clients coming in at all times, and we'll be able to accommodate them accordingly, whether they want to sit inside or outside, then that will be their decision to make and whatever availability we have at the moment. As far as the community and how the community is in need of what we're bringing to Miami Shores, I would like to invite you to Mrs. Flower's establishment. We'll have a meet and greet tomorrow with Amaranthine and Saint Gastrobar, where you can have fun and ask all the questions you need. We're about that time where we're passing last inspections and final details. Every single day we've been there for months working really hard to make this a reality. It's a dream that once we had and now we want to make it a reality. And from 8 in the morning that we're there, we have pedestrians pass by and look into the window, ask us, email us through social media, everywhere. When are you gonna open? Everybody's really excited, and I would like to to ask you for your consideration in our request.
Thank you, Carlos. Can you talk to me a little bit about your cuisine?
We'll have a freestyle cuisine. It's a little bit of everything. We'll have anything from sushi, wood fire grill, which we're going to have a steak, octopus. We'll have ceviche, sushi rolls, pastas. It'll be very mixed, and we'll also work on seasonals and on specials that will not be on our menu, but will keep the cuisine a little more entertaining.
And your hours of operation? What do you
11
anticipate?
to 11.
Monday through Friday?
Monday to Monday.
Very good.
Yes, ma'am. We're also working on our
Sure.
brunch menu.
Okay. Very good. Any comments from the council? Questions? All right, thank you, Carlos. Do we have a motion to pass item 8B for
Madam-
approval?
Madam Mayor, this is a
Yes.
public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, guys. Do we have any public hearing around this item? Hope not. With no folks coming to the podium for public hearing, do I have a motion to approve item 8B?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All who disapprove? Motion passes. Thank you very much. We are very, very, very excited about this, to bring life downtown. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Item 9A, an ordinance of the Village Council of Miami Shores Village, Florida, relating to zoning, Appendix A, amending Article 5, Division 4, Area Regulations, Section 518, fences, walls, and hedges, providing for conflicts, codification, severability, and effective date. Staff on this item is the Planning and Zoning Director.
Travis.
Good evening, Travis Kendall, Planning and Zoning. So shifting focus or direction here for just a minute. This is ordinance on first reading, and it specifically has to do with fencing on commercial properties only. This, just as a little background, I know there was a question as to why are we addressing this issue right now. So what happened was there was a specific property owner who owned a commercial property that doesn't actually have a building currently on it, but wanted to secure the property. And as a result, the requester application came to my desk, at which point, in reading the code, it deals with commercial properties abutting residential, specifically residentially zoned properties, and how to address that. But what it doesn't deal with or speak to is the front of properties that are adjacent other commercial properties or a commercial highway, being Biscayne or US 1 specifically. So since it's not in the code, it was challenging for staff to give direction to this individual how to secure the property. And as a result, this went to the Planning and Zoning Board, who had a couple meetings and some discussions about what they would like to see done within the code itself. They brought forward the recommendation for metal picket fences only, either green or black, with a 1-inch picket and a no greater span than 4 inches between, which is generally what you see in some of the commercial properties currently in the village. There's one specifically on Biscayne that has one now, very close to the public, so I won't name which one specifically, but that's a general location. And that was reviewed and found to be the most visually pleasing, and as a result, that's the recommendation in front of you. This deals only with commercial properties and has very specific materials, heights, and colors. So staff is making a recommendation of approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have dealing with this.
Council have questions? Vice Mayor Birch.
So the ones that were eliminated that are allowed in residences and you decided were not appropriate for commercial properties? There were some.
Well, the only thing would be green chain link fence, green or black chain link fence, which they didn't feel was appropriate in the front of properties. This is specifically for fencing in the front of a commercial property,
Okay.
Which abuts a road, basically. This is in the forward portion of properties. So it's seen from the right-of-way, specifically.
Okay, but the item reads, in the side and rear yards, there are items in here, there are fence types in here that are not included, that you would be able to do with a residence in side and rear yards. That's my
No.
point.
Well, again,
Wood is one, and
Right.
concrete masonry is another.
That's correct, yes. And basically, it says the only permitted material is a metal picket fence in the forward portion of a commercial property.
Right.
So I'm not really clear as to...
Well, I'm saying side and rear. There were some things that you would limit. I was just curious as to why. It's not a big deal. I just was wondering why there were certain things that you could do in a residence that you don't want done in a commercial property. So that was just a P and Z thing, right?
Yeah, it was their decision that this was the materials that they wish to have specifically.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Certainly.
Madam Mayor?
Councilman Lafredo?
So you're changing, well, I'm not quite following. So in other words, right up against the right-of-way in a commercial area, you can have a 6-foot fence now?
You cannot.
Currently,
It doesn't speak to it.
there's currently nothing in the code that addresses fencing on commercial properties.
Right, but in a residential, you couldn't go higher than 3.5 feet in the front yard.
That's
Right.
correct, yes, 42 inches.
42 inches. So if we vote for this, we're gonna allow like motels and restaurants to put 6-foot fences between their location and Biscayne Boulevard.
Well, in theory, any commercial location could
So
have
like
a
the
metal
Burger
picket.
King could and
That's
the
correct,
TD
yes.
Bank and all, we could have a wall of 6-foot fences along Biscayne Boulevard.
Yes, that were metal picket.
Correct. And planning and zoning approved this?
They did, yes.
And the reason they approved this was?
The alternative was prohibition of fencing, which is where we are now.
Right. This started out as somebody had an abandoned or a vacant piece of property and wanted to do is securing it from vandalism?
That's correct, yes.
Can't that be handled with a temporary permit?
The issue with a temporary permit is, what's the duration of a temporary permit?
Nothing is permanent as a temporary solution.
Councilman Mills?
Thank you.
Mr. Kendall, so to understand the thought process behind this, let's just say hypothetically, there's a vacant commercial parcel, which could be an eyesore, or there could be people habitating or causing some sort of other ruckus on it. So we would want to be able to enforce or have a property owner put up a fence to safeguard that property. Was that the reason behind this?
That is correct, yes.
So Councilman Lafredo is correct. I don't think Burger King or Publix would like to put a fence around their property, but why wouldn't you or planning differentiate? Why wouldn't you just specifically tailor this ordinance or this change to root the problem rather than possibly create some sort of fortress?
Well, you can certainly, this is just a recommendation to you. And if you know, between first and second reading, you can certainly make the change that says that this is applicable only to existing vacant properties.
Right.
You could.
Did that come up at all in your consideration or P&Z?
It did not. It was more a generalized statement to say allow certain individuals. But again, you know, their concern was, for example, if and I'll use another property. Let's choose, and this is not specific to them. This was not the request. But if you had a commercial property, for example, a grocery store, where they wanted to secure the back, there is a structure there. They don't have the capacity to do that currently. So this, while maybe not applicable to all, the problem is you're looking at something that, in theory, you don't want to approve something for one that you don't allow for the others. It has to be a universal statement. So you can say this is for vacant properties only, but for a commercial property owner to undergo the cost associated with, for example, a metal picket fence, to then say as soon as you build the building you have to remove that, they may not wish to. So again, there's other issues at hand as well, which is the challenge.
Attorney Serafin?
You know what, I'll take a pass. I'm not gonna jump into this.
Yeah, I'm going to move to table this to get some more information and get some better understanding. No offense, Mr. Kendall. I just doesn't sit very well with me right now.
Second.
Does the council have specific questions that I could bring back to you or address? If you'd like to send it back to P&Z?
Yeah, I think it's sort of been articulated as to, wouldn't this allow existing commercial businesses to put up fences and we could do nothing about it? And is this truly a problem, or is this something that needs to be addressed? Is it really for one parcel, or is this something that's a bigger concern for how much vacant open space is there? We'd rather not have a city of fences unless it's to make good neighbors.
Well, and not to mention, I'm going to concur, I had this in my notes. What Mr. Councilman Lafredo said, when you're talking about along the area where which you can allow these 6-foot fences, and then we have residents along some of those areas who can only have a 3.5-foot fence, then you also have, you open yourself up to complaints or concerns, whether you meant to or not.
This actually specifically deals with commercial property abutting commercial property.
I understand that.
So it doesn't actually ever abut residential. And the code speaks specifically to commercial properties that butts residential, and it requires a masonry wall, actually. So in the code itself. So there is no section where this would be permitted to abut a residential property that has a 42-inch limitation. It's only commercial to commercial.
I understand, but you open yourself up to a rebuttal or an argument that they can do it, why can't I? It's just a thought, that's in my notes. You open yourself up to a rebuttal. Attorney Serafin.
Yeah, I'm going to play Peter Parliamentarian here. There's a motion to table on the table. It's not debatable.
Okay. We have a motion on the
Motion to table?
We have a motion to table. So, do we have a motion to table?
We have a second.
We have a second.
And it's not debatable.
Okay, it's not debatable. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you.
Item 10A, discussion and possible action regarding the village assuming the Plaza 98 event series responsibilities from the Greater Miami Shores Chamber of Commerce. This item is sponsored by the village manager.
Mr. Manager?
Madam Mayor, you have in your packet a letter that I received from Mr. Hornbuckle, the president of the Greater Miami Shores Chamber of Commerce. He's asked us to take over the Plaza 98. I provided you with a background memo, as you see here, that says we have $5,000 currently appropriated in our budget that we just passed on first reading. Ms. Dorney, our rec director, has come up with some tentative plans, if you will, to have different events on the various nights for Plaza 98 with a rough budget. If the council wants us to take this over, we'll be happy to do so. Ms. Dorney and her staff will refine it. They're very good at putting on special events, as you know. One thing that I want to make very clear, that if we take it over, we take it over. We can't have, okay, you guys took it over, but we just wanted your money. Now we're going to take it from here. So it's going to be under Miss Dorney's, staff, and she'll take it over, and she'll do a good job, I'm sure, with putting on a good production there. And perhaps we may have to come back to you for some additional funding. We're looking at trying to secure another grant that we did 2 years ago, I guess, and again even last year. But I think we're running out of creative ideas of how we can get it past the grant people, but we're still working on it. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Again, we'll answer any questions you have. Ms. Dorney's still here, and we'll follow your wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Do we have any discussion from the council? Questions? Vice Mayor Birch?
Sure, I'm very excited about what the plans that Recreation staff have come up with, and I'm excited about another season of Plaza 98. I'm very open, as I believe the volunteers are very open to just making this an exciting event to get people downtown. It has worked in the past. I believe it'll work in the future, and I think the enhancements are well called for in our budget. We did give $5,000 each of the past couple years. This volunteer group that got it started worked very hard and gave some of their own money to actually make sure that it was successful. And with the excitement that we have is generated right now for downtown, I think it's only appropriate that we let the manager know that we could go up to $10,000 total if need be. And we all want it to be a great event and to help the businesses. And we're going to be asking, I know that recreation staff and the manager are going to be asking the businesses for their cooperation. It looks really good if we've put some effort into it and some financial effort. So I would approve up to 10,000 from the 5 that we have on the table now. Thank you.
I concur with Vice Mayor Birch. I am excited to work with the Recreation Department. I know I've seen what you've come up with so far, and I do agree with the programming. And I would also encourage, our folks in downtown to help with us any way they can. But I would also agree to add the additional $5,000 to the $5,000 already committed. So I'm excited to carry this forward. I love the Plaza 98 activities, and I think it gets the community out, and it will also help to showcase Northeast 2nd Avenue. Councilman Lafredo?
I just want to concur with your comments and those of Vice Mayor Birch. I think it's an excellent program, and anything we can do to support it is very much indicated.
Any other comments? Okay, so procedurally, I just want to make sure I'm doing this correct. How do I go about this?
I would suggest someone makes a motion to approve taking over control of the Plaza 98 and approving up to an additional 5,000 on top of the existing budgeted 5,000.
Thank you.
Mayor Weiger, so moved.
There you go.
Do I have a second? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye. I'm in favor.
You're in favor. All opposed? Thank you.
Item 10B, discussion and possible action regarding 2nd Avenue Business District lighting. This is also sponsored by the village manager.
Madam Mayor, you also have in your packet a memo from myself and Scott Davis, our Public Works Director, regarding lighting on Northeast 2nd Avenue. As you heard here tonight, the lighting on Northeast 2nd Avenue, for a number of reasons, has gotten substandard in terms of being a vibrant area. It's still certainly legal as far as lumens of light go on the roadway. However, given the age of the bulbs or the globes and the fact that there's new technology out there, we're recommending that we do a test area from Northeast 97th to 98th Street. That's approximately $9,700 for us to do a test there, so we can see you all can see what it looks like to see if you want to take the next step forward. We're also told that the Dade County roadway lighting eventually, and that's the key word, eventually has plans to put LED lights in all of their roadway lighting fixtures, as we did with FPL through the residential area. We believe, Scott, was it 2 years out, 2 to 3 years out?
At the earliest.
So, that's one of the things we can consider. I would recommend that we at least do the test right now. If in fact you like what you see and it does provide the additional lighting, it would be approximately $65,000 to do the rest of the downtown business area, business district. However, I think the first step is we ought to just do the one block and see how it shakes out. You have a lot of different factors in play there. You have the various eyebrows, if you will, sticking out from the buildings. You have awnings. You have the trees. Scott's crew went in there and did trim them back a little bit. We want to keep a nice pedestrian walkway through there and provide shade from the trees, so we don't want to cut them too much. However, we did cut them back some, which helped a little bit. But again, I believe that the LED lighting, which, as you saw in the residential area, provides the more white lighting, is more pleasing to the eye. I think you'll see a major difference, but I think we ought to test it first.
Councilman Meltz?
Good vision.
Peripheral.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm strongly in favor of this. I've had long thoughts and discussions about it outside of this room. And what I'm happy to see is that we're taking some action, hopefully, it will be approved, that addresses the downtown merchants' concerns, and we're putting our focus and our money forward to try and build that. There's outside folks who are investing in us, and we greatly appreciate that. It should be a quid pro quo, and we should invest in not only the new folks, but the folks who are existing. And by my calculations, this is the block that Flight Wine is on, I believe, right? 97, 98, and it goes up to the theater. And we want to show our support for you folks and for the other existing businesses as well as the new businesses to show that that epicenter or that belly of Miami Shores is going to be thriving and really growing. So I am wholeheartedly in favor of this.
Vice Mayor Birch?
And Councilman Meltz, when we had this discussion last time, it did not look like it was going to be this simple. And I am so impressed with our staff that you've been able to go out and cooperate with the county to make sure that we have this option, which is much more affordable than some of the other ideas that we were tossing around at the last time this came up. So I'm very relieved and appreciative of staff, and I can only hope that the county does follow this timetable that you've outlined in your memo, Mr. Benton, so thanks for that.
Well, that's what I'd like to talk about at the timetable, because we're talking about a test period, unless, what are we perceiving the test period to be? A month, 2 months, once those lights go in and we,
I mean, I would leave it up to you all. I
Okay.
mean, what I would do is put them up there, and assuming that everybody likes what they see, then we could take the next step. We'd have to involve Ms. Hugdell, our finance director, to come up and figure out the financing for part two of this. The first part of it, I mean, we can absorb it in our current budget through the Public Works Department, $65,000 additional. That's something we're gonna have to have a discussion about and figure that out. But right now, we're just talking about doing the one test block. Now, we've gotta order the parts, which is gonna
that's my
take
next question.
2 months, is it? 2 to 3?
Good evening.
And then the county will install them for us.
That's correct. I've listed in my memo that the manufacturer indicates it'll take 6 to 8 weeks for delivery, and the county said as soon as they get them in, they'll start working on putting them up. I have a very good
That's how I
relationship
feel about it too.
with the gentleman that is involved in this, and he says as soon as you get them in, we'll take care of it.
Because I would like to see this go forward as quickly as possible so we can get a feel and see what it'll look
Absolutely.
like. And to see if something that's what we want to continue with. I know
I al-
lighting has been an issue, so.
Absolutely. I already have the purchase order in place. We're just
Okay.
waiting for the council to approve it so that we can move forward.
Okay, Councilman Lafredo.
Yes, I just want to be clear on, they're just going to put in new bulbs in the existing structures, or they're going to be rewiring going on?
So you've kind of asked two questions. They're not going to be rewiring the parts that go up. They're going to be rewiring the globes. It comes as one unit. Right now, there's a bulb in there, and if you look, you can see that there's a variety of tops on top of the streetlights. They're all going to be uniform, and it comes as a unit, which they will then be wiring into the existing wire that's in the streetlight.
So in other words, they don't have to trench, they don't have
None
to
of that.
put any new boxes or transformers or boosters or any of that sort of thing?
None of that.
All the work is pulled up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll move approval.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Item passes.
Announcements. We need you. There are vacancies on the Planning Board, Historic Preservation Board, Fine Arts Commission, Recreation Advisory Committee, Country Club Advisory Board, General Employee Pension Board, and Personnel Appeals Board. Applications can be found on the village website and the village clerk's office. The deadline to submit applications is Friday, September 20th, 2019. The final budget hearing will begin at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, September 17th, immediately followed by the regular village council meeting. Miami Shores Kids Day Off, September 30th from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Flipper Cinema, Abominables to the feature. Prices are from $45 for residents per day and $55 for non-residents per day. If you have any questions, please call 305-758-6701. And would you rather receive the newsletter via email? Residents can sign up to receive the monthly newsletter by email. Simply use the Contact Us link on the front page of our website. Be sure your email includes your name and mailing address. The communication specialist will take care of the rest. And please remember to visit the village website for more information on village events, departments, and to sign up to receive agenda notifications. Village Council comments.
Let's start with Mr. Meltz. Any comments?
I want to thank everybody for coming out here today. I appreciate all the residents and business owners who are here. Look forward to hearing from you with issues of concern before the next meeting, and then see you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Birch?
Yes, I have an announcement. It's called the Miami Shores Paddle Cleanup with Surfrider International Coastal Cleanup, and it's happening on Saturday, September 21st, with a rain date of September 22nd from 9 a.m. to noon. And it's actually more of a wind alternate date is the next day, because when you're using paddle boards and canoes and kayaks to do cleanup, you need the winds to be calmer than they were today, let's say. And so this is going to take off from my house because I have a long dock, and you're going to be able to be invited to bring your own watercraft, and we will be doing a cleanup. And if we can get around the corner into the canal, we can get even more to do. And I've been doing Bonanza for many years. Other people have done the coastal cleanup. It dovetails well into our discussion of plastics. Once you do one of these cleanups, you realize single-use plastics are really not for the environment, and they never were. And it's very instructional. If you are going to bring children under 17, you have to sign a waiver. And I'm looking forward to hosting this with Surfrider, a very active group and a great group of people. So the second thing is also about Biscayne Bay, and it's the Marine Health Summit, the Action Summit they call it. It is on September 20th, which is a Friday. It's all day. It's at FIU's Biscayne Bay campus, so it's close to us. It's from 8:30 to 6. Any of you can sign up, but it's a plastic-free and zero-waste event. So remember that, and there are a number of sponsors for this event. It's going to be really informative on the health of Biscayne Bay, and encourage and advise all of us on maintaining that health of Biscayne Bay. And it kind of ties in with the idea of the septic to sewer conversion and how large a role that plays in the nitrification of and phosphorus that flow into the bay. So I'd love to see you there, and thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lafredo?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I hope everyone had a good summer and a good recess. We're all back here and ready to get back to work. I commend staff for getting this world-class budget together, but I especially want to commend the new investors and new business people on 2nd Avenue and wish them all the best of luck. And I'll be there eating.
Thank you. You know, we've done a number of things on the agenda today that are going to, I should say, benefit the Northeast Second Corridor. And I think we should continue moving forward. Like these are things that our community are looking forward to, both restaurants, the lighting, and anything, Plaza 98, anything else we can help give exposure to this area to get our residents out. So I'm very excited about all the things that happened today. And I would also like to mention, when those lights get in, I'd like to know about it as soon as possible so we can make a choice as to whether or not we like the look and if it serves our downtown businesses. And having said that, you know, these are things that should be being communicated to our residents. And I know we got a new communications specialist. You know, the opening of these 2 restaurants, that should be put on blast by the communications specialist. Vice Mayor Birch just talked about her 2 initiatives coming up. That should be out there for our residents to know about through the communication specialist, and I just want to make sure that we're getting the information out to everyone in as many ways as possible, Twitter, Facebook, however we need to get this information out. Likewise, we've been working on our website updates, and this goes along with moving us forward. I just want to make sure that that website is still being updated and improved upon so that when residents are looking for information, they can go online and find it easily. So those are my thoughts. I'd also like to commend the manager this evening for his preparation for the hurricane that wasn't. You did a good job, and you kept me informed, and I'm new to this, so I do appreciate it, and you were well prepared, and I got a few phone calls from some county commissioners that represent our district, also commending your efforts and your attention to detail on these matters, so thank you. And with that, I have no other comments. I just want to really urge people to come and visit downtown. We've done a lot of things right now that are benefiting this area, and we'd like to continue moving forward with it. And so I'm very excited about what happened today. And I think this is just step one in getting our downtown corridor to where we want it to be.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
If you're finished, can I add one quick announcement, more for the benefit of the council than anything else?
Sure.
Where once there was a Miami Shores Motel on Biscayne Boulevard, and now there is an empty lot, I've recently succeeded in obtaining a final judgment of foreclosure. There is a sale scheduled in December. We hold a judgment for north of $860,000. And Tom and I will probably be reaching out in the weeks to come to try to develop a strategy as to what we do or do not want to do at that foreclosure sale. But I did want to lay it out there so that people can start thinking about it.
Vice Mayor Birch.
Yes. So I just have one last thing, and that is an article I read in the paper today about Bahamas relief from Hurricane Dorian. And I thought of a simple way that we could join up with something the city of Miami is doing, and that is they are doing their collections at Miami fire stations. So I thought perhaps if we did a collection, we could bring the things to our fire station, and they would cooperate with the city of Miami and get these things, because the city of Miami is talking about having the first seaplane flights going to the Bahamas if the weather allows. So I think that sounds like a quick and easy way for our residents to be able to bring hurricane relief supplies. And they are asking for, they have a website, miamigov.com. Government Bahamas Strong is their website, and it's water, canned goods, diapers, and other supplies. The United Way is also collecting money, and as we know, oftentimes that's the most useful thing to do. So it's here in this article, and I'll give it to you.
We were talking to emergency operation people today about this.
Okay, great.
We also have 4 pallets of ice that I would like to give to them as well, but they're working on the logistics of how to get it there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Here's the paddleboard cleanup and the base.
Again, let's get that paddleboard cleanup information out through our communication specialist so people can get involved in that and perhaps participate. That'd be great. Are there any more comments? Okay. There being no further business before the council, this meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you.